What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown Podcast edition. This is the 27th episode of the View from Jamestown Podcast. This is the June View recording. I'm sitting down with TCC President Rob Roach, GM of Sales AJ Pacharka, and our special guest this morning, Cory Mullins. Cory, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
How are we doing today?
I'm good. This is exciting.
Welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate
First
it.
time on the podcast.
First time, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually on the other side of the camera. I like this.
Yeah.
I wrote up some jokes. No,
We like jokes.
Is it safe to say this is your first podcast appearance?
it is, yeah. If you want a good joke, we'll talk about methanol prices here soon.
It's going to be one of those
Let's
episodes.
not get ahead of ourselves.
But yeah, thank you guys for taking some time this morning. Welcome back from your Asia trip, Rob.
Thank you.
Obviously, you're over there for a good week and a little bit extra on the back end.
Yep. Stopped in Tokyo on the back end for a couple of days to get ripped off. It's very expensive there.
Food
But
looked good though.
Food's
from the
amazing.
pictures.
Food's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a neat place to see. The logistics of getting around there on the trains are amazing, and yeah, it's a neat place. My wife and I decided to visit for a couple of days on the way back from Taipei, and it was well worth it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. But obviously, you're over there for the APEC conference in Taipei this year. Maybe give a little overview on how that went and what some of the discussions were like over there.
Surprisingly, everybody I met with from Europe talked about how slow it is there. Mentioned 10 to 20% off volumes wise. Also, a lot of very competitive activity coming from China. Obviously, with sort of a blockage with the U.S. tariff, a lot more is finding homes in Europe. So that was probably the most surprising things. We talked a lot with Chinese vendors and customers. They said that the environmental issues, meaning the government crackdown on any sort of pollution, continues and is even getting stronger. So at times plants will have to be shut down for days, even weeks at a time for inspections, or if there's an event or a visit from somebody in China, especially if they're in a sort of a non-industrial zone, so they're trying to prevent smog and pollution in water and things like that. So that's a continuing problem in China. Everybody who's in the chemical industry knows that if you're not running your plant, all the time at high rates, it's not efficient. So they were really upset about that. They were also very upset about the fact that the U.S. was blocked, really. I mean, at 25%. There was a lot of speculation while we were over there that the Chinese would devalue their currency, which they have done. It's down some 5% already. This is in sort of a trade war strategy. They control their currency, and it's one of the big issues between the U.S. and China. So there was a good bit of discussion about that. Export rebates or export drawbacks to sort of battle the tariffs being talked about. But, also a big picture discussion was what other places can we source from outside of China? And Taiwan, Taipei hosting the APEC is interestingly, a great source of a lot of different chemistry. And
Kind of convenient timing. Obviously, no one could have seen this coming a year whenever it was planned, but
Right.
it kind of happened that way.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. And so Taiwan was pretty excited. The folks we met with that are from Taiwan about new opportunities to join the global market or even increase their capacities for export. Also, India. Everybody we met from India was very interested in global markets. We talked about in the last podcast that it's no longer duty-free from India, Turkey, et cetera. So despite the duty, they're interested in the U.S. market. So a lot of good conversations, and it was good to see all the folks over there in Taipei. I really enjoyed Taipei. Also great food and culture like Tokyo. And it was overall a good trip. I was there with Javier Fernandez. A lot of interest in Latin American markets for Chinese players today because there's obviously not the tariffs in Latin American markets. So a lot going on.
Yeah, that's been one of the most interesting things with him and his view on things is it's a tough getting Chinese product into the States, but that product has to go somewhere, and it's obviously in a lot with the different regions that he manages with things either getting discounted or being more available in those regions.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. I mean, now we're talking about tariffs on Mexican goods. Well, if they can buy cheap Chinese goods and make a finished good and bring it through the U.S., Canada, America trade deal, that leaves Americans disadvantaged. So even beyond the immigration issues, there's that issue of, hey, let's blend a fertilizer and bring it into the U.S. that has dicyandiamide in it. Well, we have to pay 25% duty on dicyandiamide, but the Mexicans don't. So we have to, there's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts here, and not sure how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, and a lot of that would require significant capital investment or planning, and then all of a sudden something could happen tomorrow, and all of a sudden the tariffs are over, and it doesn't make sense anymore. So it's quite
it's so funny because we were at AFPM, and every meeting people say, "What do you think about tariffs?" I say, "It's going to be a while before this all shakes out." Well, you're such a you have such a negative view of this.
I heard you call it a pessimist.
How many times did people call me a pessimist? But people don't understand that this is a really big issue with a lot at stake. And so now everybody at APIC, or I hear people in our industry now saying, well, we thought it was going to last a long time. And it's like, no, everybody was saying this was going to be, but how crazy would it be if overnight we were back to just duties with China? That's not going to happen. Right? I just don't see that happening. Yeah. They've ruined the global trade balance for the last 15 years by putting up massive capacities of stuff that can't even find a home in two Earths. So it's like
we're getting ready for Mars.
I mean we're going to supply. We're going to have enough product to supply all the planets. It's just crazy. So this had to be done, and I think it's going to be a while before it all gets worked out. I still do. Yeah. I'm still a pessimist.
But I think it's probably interesting going back to whatever it was, our March or April podcast. You said the exact same thing. It's not like you're just making this approach now. This is what we've said for the last however many months it's been.
I know. If people could invest on that would have been a good thing. I mean, short the market. We should have been talking. I mean, methanol prices are going down. You short that. I mean,
hey, leave the jokes to me.
So anyway, there was just an amazing amount of dialogue in Asia, and a lot to think about. And but business with TCC in Asia is good. We're doing a lot still in China where we have to buy. In other Asia, we're doing some supply there and some buying. A lot of discussion about Vietnam and other new upcoming economies. So. Happy to fill you in after the podcast of even more stuff.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the other big topics that's kind of on our to-do list to touch on is the New Mexico tariff situation. Trump announcing this week, I think it was earlier this week, the 5% tariff on things coming up from Mexico with a pretty short lead time, pretty much no advance notice that this was going to happen, and the threats to push it up as high as 25%. We've seen numbers that 5% alone tariff could be up to a $17 billion a year tax on Americans, because odds are that the tariff's just going to get passed on to the end consumers.
Yep, that's a fact.
It sounds like it could have a lot bigger immediate impact than maybe the China tariffs have.
Well, Trump has stopped saying that China's paying us billions of dollars with these tariffs. It's the American businesses and eventually the American consumers that's going to be paying these tariffs. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know with us, our China business really hasn't changed much volume-wise at all. I mean, our customers are just paying an extra 25% and having to pass that along to their customers. So it's all going right to the bottom line. Yeah.
And there's some things that China's doing, like I said, to devalue their currency, to give export kickbacks or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're a communist country. They can do things overnight. We can tweet about it or send it to Congress and Senate, and there's a lot of bureaucracy there. But Trump being an effective leader in that he's making these decisions and trying to follow through with them. And arbitrarily made a decision this week to say, okay, Mexico, you don't do something about the immigration problem, we're going to start putting a tariff on you. So they're meeting, today is Tuesday, they're meeting tomorrow with Mexico. Secretary of State Pompeo is meeting with Mexico. I'm hopeful that it doesn't even happen, the 5%. They come to the table and say, okay, we're going to do something about this. Yeah. We're going to stop the people coming through our southern border, a porous southern border, and we're going to do something about the people, the immigrants at the northern border before they have to, try and get into America. It is a problem, and it'd be nice to have support from Mexico with this issue.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, a lot of, at least with TCC-specific businesses, automotive-type applications, which a lot of that comes from Mexico within the U.S., so it should be interesting to see what the downstream effects of that are, depending how these meetings go this week.
Yeah, we have a facility in Mexico. We do a lot of business in Mexico. We certainly don't want to hurt our business in Mexico, but we're sort of at the mercy of whatever decisions get made here.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So lots to keep an eye on. We did just do the podcast recording with a member of the SOCMA team, the Society of Chemical Manufacturers and Affiliates. I always get that wrong. I think that's correct.
Sounds right.
But yeah, so we interviewed Matt Modritzer from the SOCMA organization. Depending how you're streaming this, if you scroll up or down, it should pop up right there. But ended up being about an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes, talking about the 6 or 7 big tariff and trade issues and things going on. Any one of which on its own would be a massive issue, and we got essentially 6 or 7 going on at the same time with pretty much every region of the world you can imagine, except maybe Antarctica. So that's an interesting one. Definitely recommend checking it out. If you do click on it, you can scroll down. If there's certain ones you're more interested in than others, there's timestamps so you can see which topic you want to scroll to, or would certainly recommend streaming the whole thing to kind of get a good overview of what's going on. But in the true fashion of how things have been going, a lot of it may be outdated at this point. It was a week or 2 ago, and things seem to be changing quickly. So highly recommend checking that out. I think it was some interesting info in there.
Right.
Moving on to some June pricing info. I think before we get into the June pricing, Cory, maybe you want to give a little intro on yourself and the basket of products you manage, and then maybe jump into what those products are looking like for June.
Sure. No, happy to do it. I manage our methanol business here at the chemical company, along with the oxo alcohols, which would encompass 2-ethylhexanol and normal butanol. And then MTBE, the high purity MTBE, which is a derivative of methanol. We do some MTBE non-fuel application into the U.S. for pharma applications, and that's been a good product that I think we've grown over the last 18 months or so, Rob.
Yeah, I'm doing a great job
Yeah,
for it.
that's a good one. It is. Those are the main products. I mean, there's a basket of some other smaller products that I would handle: steric, ascorbic, some ammonium carbonate, things that we would be doing out of China that are under impact with the tariff right now. But the other products that I mentioned, those are stable for us. Methanol's been one of the products that we've had straight out of the gate when TCC started 30-something years ago, but it's been a good one for us.
Yep. And looking into June, what are we looking like price-wise on the products you're overseeing?
Right. On the 2EH and butanol, there was a recent price increase of 5 cents from all of the major players in the U.S. So your Dow's, Eastman's, BASF, those guys. So the way we manage our business, we're not the market leader on those products. So we'll follow suit with the major producers and try to make sure that we're in line with the market. So we followed that 5 cent increase. That was on the backs of propylene, U.S. propylene settling up 4.5 cents for the month of May, and the way oxo alcohols are priced, they're priced against the previous month because of when that settles. So propylene settled at up 4.5 cents. The market followed. There's some turnarounds going on, Oxea and Dow, so there might be some short-term tightness there, and that may be the reason for the higher increase. If propylene settling up 4.5 would typically translate into maybe a 3 cent increase on those products, but given some of the tightness on the supply side, that may be some of the justification for a higher push through.
Yeah, something we talk about a lot is the supply and demand fundamentals playing a bigger role than, obviously, direct raw material pricing plays a role, but the supply and demand fundamentals have been a bigger piece of it in recent times.
Yeah,
Especially on oxos.
Yeah, right, exactly. Now, touching on methanol, that's a different story. It's going the other direction. And, there's the consumer base will get caught up on the spot market, and it seems like it's doom and gloom. It's dropped. Let's see, it began May at $99 per gallon, and now spot June is assessed at 83.5. So there's been a big dip, big drop. I don't know that it's all doom and gloom. The producers that announced for June pricing, in my opinion, came off fairly weak in comparison to what the fundamentals would suggest. But that being said, I'm hearing rumors of some ongoing production issues in some major production in Iran. They've got 3 plants there. They're up and down, up and down. So until those are on a consistent basis, I guess I could see that those represent a concern for the supply side. Methanex Egypt is down recently, and no one's disclosing why that's down. So yeah, it's interesting. And then the MTO plants we've had some new MTO plants start over in China, and those have a big impact on the supply side because they consume a lot of methanol. So
Right.
that's probably peeling the onion way back.
Is there, to peel one more layer, is there any news from Venezuela and their methanol production? Are they impacting the price at all? Or?
No news. It's been pretty quiet. One of the off-takers from that facility is in the process of building a plant in Trinidad, CGCL. Was supposed to come up early this year. It's been pushed back. It's now looking like sometime Q4. It wouldn't surprise me if it slipped into 2020. But that might be the one thing that helps alleviate the Venezuelan concern, because that is a concern for that particular off-taker, getting that product from that plant into their U.S. presence.
Mm-hmm. And we are looking at doing a separate podcast with Cory that'll come out later this week or maybe early next week, specifically getting even deeper in that onion with some of these products. So if there is interest in ththose specific ones, we're going to have that recorded and out sometime the next week or two. So feel free to take a look at that as well. Some of the other products, glycols, plasticizers, maybe more moving to this half of the table. What's pricing looking like into June here?
Glycols are still looking pretty ugly, down a little bit moving into June. Ethylene settled down 3/4 of a penny. So glycols are still pretty depressed, and demand's still off a little bit, but we're still doing our best to keep it moving.
Yep.
Adipic, it's pretty flat going May into June. Demand seems to be pretty flat, lackluster, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Plasticizers are up a little bit. I guess anywhere from 3 to 5 cents a pound for the most part.
Yep.
For I think everything across the board, right?
Yeah, I think mainly 3, but some folks did announce 4. Hadn't heard as high as 5, but there's certainly the same push you have in oxos, with the propylene, as well as orthoxylene has been very tight in Europe. There's been some outages, and they've been more dependent on import orthoxylene, so phthalic is tight. So, and typically this time of year we're going into high driving demand season for fuels, so there's a reshuffling of the raw materials and maybe make a little less plasticizer and whatnot at the big players. But
Yep.
it's I was sort of predicting this based on where propylene's been going when it comes to plasticizers. But yeah, Dipic's flat. Little disappointing in the coatings sector right now. Kind of, we're seeing some certain markets that are weak, and I'd say coatings is one of them, which is a big demand on a Dipic. So I would call it flat because there's other demand. There's other markets that are having higher demand. So and benzene's flat, went only up a penny to $2.34 per gallon.
Yep.
So not much effect on a Dipic there.
Yep. And switching gears a little bit, crude oil and some of the crude oil, natural gas also came down this month, roughly following the stock market type of trends. Stock market goes down, crude goes down. It kind of seems like in recent months.
Yeah, they're
so
definitely tied.
Saw both of those go down this month.
Yeah, we've seen, pretty tough Dow and NASDAQ lately. They're down 5 to 6%. Obviously, effect of the trade wars and everything that's going on, Brexit, and it's, they're not achieving Brexit, and just sort of some concerns about the job market, obviously the import tariffs and whatnot. So we've seen the stock market really take a shellacking lately, and that's also happened to oil, which is awesome. I think oil's down more like 10 or 15% from where it was just a month ago. Yep. So kind of shocking to see how quickly this is happening, but what's this telling us about the overall economy? I'm nervous. I'm being honest. I'm nervous. I don't know what's going on because going to Asia, hearing about how things are so slow, so poor, business is so poor in Asia, hearing all the Europeans say how slow, how poor it is in Europe. We're doing well, and maybe we're seeing some, cracks in that foundation here a little bit. So, always paying attention every day to the news, to what's going on with oil and natural gas and
Paying
propylene.
attention to Twitter. More than I ever have.
Unfortunately.
The news is, it's a driver of what our business, and you know, just on a micro level for TCC, you know, April was amazing, you know, but it was sort of all good news, you know, in the news, everything was sort of going pretty well. And then May,
Yep.
all this trade war stuff started blowing up, and May really slowed down.
Yep.
So there's an effect that happens here, and in our little business, we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like there was almost a big down coming into the new year. It was all kind of doom and gloom. Came back up once the first quarter economic reports came out, and things were kind of positive. And
Right.
now we're kind of seems like we're back on a little bit of a down slope here as the news comes out and things like that overall.
It's, you know, not to get off topic too much, but like I just drive by strip malls and they're empty now.
Yeah.
You know, like where's retail? You know, like everything's through Amazon. Everything's, you know, going through, you know, one app or website, you know, and, you know, people have jobs, but they're not necessarily happy in their jobs. They're not getting paid well. I mean, how good really is this economy? We're allowing this to happen with the Amazoning of the world, you know, and, so, you know, it is a little disturbing to see, you know, how low the wages are for friends of mine and things like that. Even though, yes, they are working more hours, they're working a lot, but they're not making much money, and the opportunities really aren't there unless you're coming out with some blockbuster app or some blockbuster medication. You know, you don't have the opportunity now to just start a little shop and sell stuff because Amazon's going to kill you. You know, so.
Yeah.
Alternatively, on the other side of the coin, you flip the coin, that the population of the world is just growing so
Right.
fast, and I keep bringing it up, but people don't talk about that enough. The population is growing. The people are wanting cars and TVs and things like that. So the demand is going to continue, and it's going to grow. You know, and I just don't know that we just have to do a better balancing, you know, of things here, and the whole world can take advantage of that.
Yeah. And go back to your Twitter comment too. I think when Mexico put up some public relations statements or whatever back to Trump's 5% tariff, and they released them originally on Twitter, almost as like a little stab back at Trump with his Twitter economic policy coming out that way.
I mean, I didn't have Twitter until this administration came into place, and now I use it regularly just to see, you know, see what the latest and the greatest is, because it's become that kind of a tool.
Yep.
It's bizarre.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, you know, that this is, you know, you've got congress people, senators, presidents, all doing their tweeting and it's bizarre.
It's unprecedented access to, you know, you can tweet at something and that person has the ability, at least theoretically, to see it, you know, right in the palm of their hand, which, you know, 20 years ago you couldn't have contacted a senator for anything.
No. It's crazy.
But yeah, so lots going on, lots to keep an eye on. Seems like every time we talk about a new topic, something else pops up, and you got all these different things to kind of keep your head around and figure out how it goes into the solution and figures out where the market's going and things like that. So lots to keep an eye on. We're obviously doing the best we can to keep people informed and up to date on different things that are happening. But lots to keep an eye on. I hope you stay tuned to the next episodes and podcasts, and we'll try to do the best we can with our podcasts and emails. But moving on to some featured products and some new things we have coming in the pipeline, our product development pipeline here at TCC. A couple new products. AJ, you want to go over those new ones quick?
I think Cory may be able to speak to those better than myself. I don't.
Bounce it around.
Thank you. They're new to us. They're not new to the industry, but castor oil and glycerin are one that we've had some success with here lately. So I'd mentioned earlier just to maybe bring those up. Speaking honestly, I can't talk to the industry. The market at this point is something that we'll pay closer attention to as we move more of these products. But they have been a good one for us. We seem to be competitive at the accounts that we've talked to.
Yep.
We've had some success. So yeah, stay tuned on that is what I would say, because we're in a good position going forward, I think.
Yeah, and those are two newer ones that are in the pipeline for us. We also have isotridecyl alcohol and the isobutene that are in the pipeline as well. Some newer opportunities and applications that we're looking into.
Yeah, looking more towards 2020, but those two are definitely in the cards, and we're doing, as you said, we're putting them through our product development pipeline right now, and you know, I'm excited to have these new items.
Yep. We do have a couple too that we're actively moving. We've done for a little bit now. The TOFA, or tall oil fatty acid, as well as MTBE. MTBE is one that Cory oversees and has been overseen for a little bit.
Right, it's a good one.
How's that been going overall?
Really good. We'd love to move more of it. We've grown it since we started last year. It's a great product. We sell into, if you're selling a product into the pharmaceutical industry, it needs to be, depending on what the application is in pharma, it needs to be a good quality product. And the sales time into the pharma industry that's a long sales
strapped
cycle.
in for those approval processes.
That's right. Yeah, but the qualification's gone well, and supply into the accounts that have qualified it. They've been really pleased. So my goal is to just to continue to grow it at pharma applications here in the U.S.
That's a good goal, I would say.
It would be.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah, it's the first time you've liked where my head's at. That's That's right.
But yeah, a lot of new products, a lot of new opportunities, and we're continuing to expand into industries we're familiar with, as well as some new industries and applications, which is exciting for us at least. So any of those products are of any interest, feel free to reach out to your TCC sales contact or reach out online. We're happy to take a look and see what we can do for you guys.
How about you, Ben? How about the TOFA?
TOFA's been good. Our supplier out of Europe for that has been really good. We've had a lot of good new applications and new companies actively sampling it. We've gotten to a couple new accounts, so that's something that we're eager to move, especially into the Southeast. Primarily in bulk, we are looking at a couple packaged opportunities as well. So if any of those come up, feel free to reach out to myself or, again, whoever your TCC contact is, and happy to take a look at that for you. Upcoming trade shows, conferences, events. Obviously, it's summertime, which is kind of nice, a little bit quieter. I think every year it's almost kind of funny. APIC almost measures like the summertime kind of stop for trade shows, which is nice based on the timing.
Well, we got this week our sales meeting.
We do?
So that's always, it seems like, our year end is July 31, and it's always a race. And I think that the sales meeting sort of is, close to the finish line. So it's always nice when we wrap up the sales meeting, get everybody together this week here in Newport, Rhode Island for our international sales meeting, and have some great, we have some great suppliers coming in. We've got some great presentations, everything from EH&S and legal to sales guys to product managers, technical presentations. But yeah, it's always nice to get to this annual sales meeting, because that is, we're getting towards the end of the race, so it's a little relief.
Yeah, and the staff from our Asian sourcing office is coming this year, which will be nice.
That'll be very nice.
Get their perspective on some things as well.
Yep, the folks from China will be coming over. It'll be really interesting to hear what their perspective is about these tariffs and what's going on.
Yep. But then on the trade show front, the conference front, the next big one coming up is the Vinyl Compounders Conference. It's down in Ponte Vedra, I think to say it, Vedra, Florida, just south of Jacksonville. That's a good one for us. It's the 30th rendition or year of the Compounders Conference. Always a very well-attended event, so if anyone will be down there in Florida, feel free to let us know. And then I guess the other two, we can have our special guest over here kind of intro and talk about. We'll give AJ a break. AJ's usually the trade show guy, so we'll let Cory handle this time.
Wait a second. We're on the new guy, are we? Wait, which one are you talking about? The Southwest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the Southwest Fertilizer Conference this year in Nashville, Tennessee. Normally it takes place in San Antonio. It should be cooler for me, but still warm for AJ coming down from the south. But it'll be interesting. That's a new venue.
So you got Florida in July, and then you got Nashville in July.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain, because every year we've been in San Antonio in July, and it's not a much worse place to be than San Antonio in July.
It's brutal. Yeah, it is brutal. But no, that's always a good one for us. We dabble in the fertilizer industry with a number of products. So it's a good time for us to catch up with both the supply side and the customer side. And just catch up on what's going on in that particular industry, and so I'm looking forward to Nashville.
Yep.
I might go and get on Music Roll. I've written a song. I'd like to maybe perform a gig, maybe see if I can hit the big time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm not going to play that bubblegum country. This is real.
Well, so when I was in Nashville, like literally downtown is all bubblegum country, and it kind of stinks because you want to hear like original stuff. You want to go out and find new singers. You have to go to like these outskirts, like these little bars to actually hear anything original.
Right, singer-songwriters. That's the way.
Yeah.
We'll find them.
You will find them. Yeah. Granted, if they pay me what those guys make, I guess I'll sing some bubblegum or whatever. Yeah.
They probably make more than selling methanol, right?
Well, no, there's some good margins on that stuff. Thanks a lot. Idiot. Can we edit that, George?
And then one more coming up in September. That's always a good one for us as well, the Specialty and Agrochemicals America show.
Yeah, you want me to talk to that one too?
Please do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's always a fun one. It's a great area. It's one of my favorite places in the U.S. to visit, Charleston, South Carolina. But that one covers a gamut of a whole number of different industries and products that we all participate in. But there'll be the 4 of us going again. We have a small booth there.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're doing the booth.
Yep.
It's a crowded one. It's there's a lot of activity at this one. It's probably one of the more well-attended ones that I go to. But yeah, I enjoy it. There's always good things that come from that, good leads. There's obviously good food. We have some great dinners in the evenings. But
They did, that organization does a good job. They have this one every year in Charleston. They just added the second one that was just this past February in Texas, which was the exhibit space was 100% sold out, which in the first year of a show is pretty impressive.
yeah, that's big. Yeah,
That's always that organization does a great job with those shows.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's a good one. We get a lot of bang for the buck on that one. It's a good show.
You're just saying that because Rob's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, a bunch of good shows coming up. Kind of closer to the end of the summer and the fall time, so we'll get into more in depth on those as they come up. But a couple good ones, and obviously the sales meeting this week, which will be a great internal meetings and things like that with people coming into town up here in Newport. But wrapping things up, some inside TCC news. I know we have a couple things to announce and bring up, which has been exciting. It's been a kind of a buzzing 2 weeks here around the office.
It sure has. We got a new EH&S coordinator in Brendan Wildenheim, fresh graduate, and he's in training right now with Karen Benson and legal, and then he's also going to be doing some purchasing activities.
Local guy, right from
Local
URI?
guy, came from URI, Chemi, and really bright guy. And we're happy to have him. And it's EH&S is becoming a far more important component of our business and everything we do. So we're very careful about the chemicals we handle, the chemicals we ship, the applications, the uses, et cetera. So we have to protect ourselves and protect the communities, and that's what the EH&S coordinator's responsibility is. So also exciting news this week, we learned that Michaela Turnquist is having a baby boy. She's in finance here at TCC. We knew she was pregnant, but we didn't know what she was having. So she's got a daughter right now. So she'll be diversifying her children.
Her portfolio.
Her child portfolio.
And that's October? She's due October?
She's due in October. Yes. And the last thing is just the sales meeting this week, which really starts tomorrow, and so through Saturday. So really excited about that. It's always great to get together socially, see everybody and spend some time. I think that's the most important part.
So we should probably get started on the presentations.
Hopefully you're done with the presentation.
Are we presenting this year? Hopefully you're done with the...
Well, I think they do it 5.
3-slide presentation with a opener, my presentation, and a thank you. So 1 slide in the middle.
I'm just changing 2018 to 2019.
That's what I'm afraid of.
No, come on. Kind of.
So that's pretty much I think what's going on inside TCC right now.
Yeah. So I think that leaves us to the final portion, which is the stand-up portion of this podcast. I was promised some jokes here, Cory.
Yeah, now I got to think of one.
Gotta keep it clean, too.
Yeah, so this horse walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" Anybody. Come on. That's on a whim. That's all I've got. My book's coming out next week. If you guys.
And check him out in Nashville in July, main stage. As always, appreciate you following along and listening. Hopefully some good info. Obviously, reach out anytime if any of those products are of interest or for more details on kind of what we're seeing in the tariff situation and things like that. We're happy to at least give our 2 cents on whatever we can and help out with any industry knowledge as best as possible. As always, the episode's available to stream on the chemco.com/podcast. We're on the Apple Play Store, the Android podcast store. You can check us out on our mobile app. We do have our video version as well with the Kettlebottom creative guys sitting in and doing the video portion for us. So it's available on YouTube and then shared to our social media platforms. So feel free to check us out wherever you get your audio and things like that from. Cory, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You probably never want to come back again, but that's besides the point.
I got probably fired after today. It really is what.
And we appreciate you listening. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.